Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor. This morning I woke up, I woke up last night and my throat was bothering me a little bit, so I hope this doesn't drive you too crazy listening to me talk through that, but felt a little bit under the weather and had to take a couple of ibuprofen this morning. But there's too much good news on XRP and Ripple to not do a video. So the first thing I wanted to show you before I went on is that this morning Ripple is on XRP is on up to 57 cents, and this of course is leading up to Swell, and there's so many great pieces of information coming out about Ripple and XRP right now that it's just XRP and Ripple will not be denied, and nobody's going to be able to ignore it for much longer. And I'm going to show you what I consider to be one of the really most amazing pieces of news I've seen in a while today. So the first thing that I wanted to go over is that I believe yesterday RippleNet's Multihop feature to ease cross-border transactions in Southeast Asia was announced. And basically you're seeing the evolution of Ripple's product line. I mentioned to you the other day that they had dropped the talking about XRapid and on their website and all that, and it looked like they were beginning the process of merging all of their products into one product. And in my opinion, and I believe that the ultimate goal and the ultimate destination is that XRP will be used in all transactions, because it'll save money and it'll be like, why not use it once they get around all the regulations in all the different countries. But anyway, so I wanted to at least mention this Multihop, which the Siam Commercial Bank is the first one to use Multihop. And I was just going to read you this quote about what it is, because Ripple had kind of went over what it is. With Multihop, financial institutions can connect directly to SCB, Siam Commercial Bank, which can settle and pay out across the region without exchanging currencies multiple times and adding heavy fees. The result is a seamless payments experience into and out of the ASEAN region. That refers to the Association of Southeastern Asian Nations. And so this is just the evolution of Ripple's product line. They're going in and listening to customers, and they're figuring out how to make the product better. And this is just one announcement of, I'm sure, many to come, where they tweak this the Ripple products to make them better and make everything flow even better. Moving along, I don't know if everybody listening knows, so I'm going to go over this as far as who Michael Arrington is. Michael Arrington was, I believe, the first person to start a crypto hedge fund, and he called it Arrington XRP Capital, and he chose XRP because of how fast the transfers were. The fact that he called it XRP Capital does not mean that he only invests in XRP. That is more, he knows that XRP is the greatest digital asset ever created, and for that reason, and the fastest, and for that reason, he used that even in the name of his hedge fund. And he's also in the past mentioned how fast that he's moved as much as $50 million in 3 to 4 seconds, and it cost him like 30 cents. So he's a big XRP guy in that respect. What this article is about is how he got subpoenaed by the SEC, and he has been an outspoken advocate of really complaining about how the SEC and the United States regulators have been way too slow, and that that technology and businesses in fintech are going overseas, and they're going to Asia and other places. And so I guess the SEC didn't like him talking like that. I don't know why they subpoenaed him, but it said that they subpoenaed him because he's an investor in a company based in the United States. But I get the impression that he feels like he's being picked on for being outspoken. But in this, he says, the legal costs of dealing with these are not insignificant. We will not invest any further any further U.S. deals until the SEC clarifies token rules, pivot to Asia. And the point I wanted to make in this is that the SEC is going and the Congress, they're all going to come under further criticism, and this is a good thing, because I believe that this pressure that's building towards the SEC from Congress, and you're starting to see the congressmen talk about this. I believe that you're going to start seeing them actually giving answers so that this technology can go on fast forward in the United States, because they are getting beat by all kinds of countries around the world. I found it interesting, and I was also going to mention to you, a group of 15 congressmen wrote a letter to the agency's chair, Jay Clayton, Friday, asking him to more clearly define how the regulator is approaching the token sales. And so the SEC is beginning to get this pressure, and this is going to be a good thing for all of us, because the more pressure is applied, these guys are going to have to quit sitting down and make some decisions, whether it be on Bitcoin ETFs. They're going to have to man up and make an actual decision instead of putting it off and waffling and all this. And so the last thing I wanted to show you in this article, though, is after Michael Arrington said he's not going to invest in any more businesses in the U.S., he then goes on to say, it says in a follow-up tweet, he also noted that Liechtenstein is a country he may look toward. So when we're all in Liechtenstein, we could see Michael Arrington. But I just wanted to I thought that was funny when I saw that line, because I thought that was pretty classic since we've been talking about Liechtenstein a lot. The article I'm about to show you, to me, is one of the biggest articles that I have shown since I started this channel. And I really want you to let this sink in, because this is massive. New Ripple-led advocacy group to pay lobbyists in XRP. Now this is just straight awesome. And I'm going to read you a couple of snippets from this article. It says, Ripple basically is leading the way. Ripple, the company, has gotten together a group of companies, many of them that are affiliated with Ripple and XRP, just a group of fintech companies, and they're putting this advocacy group together to go lobby Congress about fintech and cryptocurrencies. And so they're going to call it the Securing America's Internet of Value Coalition. And the group that says it includes the Ripple Works Foundation, COIL, which we've talked about, and then Hard Yaka, an investment firm focusing on digital assets, and PolySign, a company seeking to be a crypto custodian. And then it says, together, the startups hope to influence the regulation of crypto in an environment when policymakers in Congress and government agencies examine this new technology and wrestle with a regulatory regime that must be updated to meet the needs of this global financial transition. That's what their press release said. But here is where it gets so interesting. And this is why this is so huge, and why you as an XRP holder, this should really make your weekend right here. They hired the hired a lobbying firm, Klein Johnson Group. Now this group, this is a group from staff members that left the Chuck Schumer, they were working for Chuck Schumer at Congress, and one other congressman they mentioned, but anyway, they formed the Klein Johnson Lobbying Group. This is the firm that's going to represent Ripple in this group of companies. The firm, this is where it's fascinating, the firm is going to be paid $25,000 a month and they're also going to be paid 10,000 XRP a month. And then they quoted Chris Larson as saying, this guy, I mean, every time I round the corner, I find out just how genius these guys at Ripple are, because this is pure genius. To put XRP and put these digital assets in the hands of the people that are literally in Washington, D.C. and at the levers of power. The world is about to change, people. But Chris Larson quoted, and it says, it gives them some upside and gives them some risk. Hopefully it gives them a taste of the industry in a way that hits home. That's from Chris Larson. Chris Larson, who I should start calling Titan Chris Larson, because he's going to be a Titan. He kind of already is. Okay, I wanted to remind you one last time. Monday and Tuesday is Swell in San Francisco. This is Ripple's. This is their annual conference where Bill Clinton is going to be speaking. Pay attention for those 2 days, because they're not going to stream it live, but over the next, during those 2 days, they're going to be releasing statements and videos, and I will be trying to cover the better ones as they come out, and many of the other YouTubers will be. I know Alex Cobb had said he was going to be covering it as well, and so this should be very interesting. You could very likely see something like the who knows, they could launch XRapid, which uses XRP, or they might even do a video of the first use of XRapid. Who knows? But I don't think that you're not going to see something that blows your mind come out of Swell this year. And so I wanted to mention that for what it's worth. Now, I want to do a shout out. Now, this is going to be a long shout out because I received an email. And before I go into this, I want to tell you all, I have been completely swamped and overwhelmed by literally, I think, hundreds of emails that have come in. I was going to try to spend this weekend going through them and trying to reply to as many people as I could. But I just wanted you all to know that I really appreciate the involvement in my channel and on. I really appreciate you all listening. And I've been completely overwhelmed by how great the people are that are listening to this channel, and how emotional everybody is about what a big thing that Ripple and XRP is, and how everyone feels like it's going to change their life. There's not a question in my mind about whether it's going to change our lives. It's just a matter of when. And so I want to talk about Frank from Ohio. He sent me this email a couple of days ago, and then he asked me if I would give a shout out to his son, which I'm going to do. And his son has no idea. He said he was not going to tell him, and he said his son would just be giddy that I gave him a shout out. So it's time to get giddy, because you're going to get a shout out. But first, I want to tell you Frank from Ohio's story. This is what captured my attention. You remember the other day, I did a video where I was talking about the Shawshank Redemption. For those of you that have not watched the Shawshank Redemption, it's one of those life changer movies. You need to see Shawshank Redemption. If you have not seen that movie, watch that movie this weekend. I think you can rent it on YouTube for like $2.99, but you can rent it from Amazon or wherever. That movie is a movie that everybody in this world needs to see before they die, period. Okay, so Frank from Ohio sends me this email. For those of you that have seen the Shawshank Redemption, this will hit home with you as well, and I thought it was amazing. He says DAI. People call me DAI a lot in these digital asset investor short, but they call me DAI a lot. That's not something I came up with. That's something that over the course of time, people have just started calling me DAI. So I guess I'm DAI. So Frank from Ohio, DAI. You blew my socks off when I saw your video titled Shawshank Redemption. I was quite taken aback and surprised to see that title. I have been following you for some time now and had subscribed several months ago to your channel. I truly look forward to your daily videos, which are quite informative and appreciated. Please continue doing a great job for the XRP community. Now about Shawshank. This is still him talking. Now about Shawshank. I'm a retired state prison employee from Ohio and former prison warden from Ohio, which is where Shawshank was filmed, in parentheses, on the grounds of the Ohio State Reformatory in Mansfield, Ohio. In fact, you can see my house in the movie. When Andy was on the roof with the captain and the other inmates drinking beer, Andy began talking about helping the guards with financial advice. You can see my white prison-owned home in the background. Now, I'm going to stop there, and I went back to YouTube because I was interested. I went back to YouTube, and I paused it at this scene because I think that this is Frank from Ohio's house. I think it's either this one or it's this one. But the reason this email is so cool to me is I've watched this movie probably 100 times, and I've never known about Frank from Ohio, and now I do. And so every time I watch this movie, and every time you watch this movie from now on, you're going to be looking for Frank from Ohio's house. And I just thought that was really neat. I'm going to pick back up with this letter. At the time, I worked at the new large prison adjacent to what was known as Shawshank. Just last week, I was thinking about how the movie has similarities to what we are experiencing today as XRP hodlers. This was truly one of the most classic films ever made. I had all of my children watch this movie. I watch it again anytime I see it on. I'm truly excited for the XRP community right now. I appreciate your focus and comment on family and how important it is to take them to make them a top priority. You have truly inspired myself and my 18-year-old son as investors of XRP. He calls me every day from college after he listens to your videos. We discuss the content. We appreciate you. You give us hope. So here's my that last line just kind of blows me away. The idea that I've been able to impact a father and son that live in Ohio from here in Georgia, just kind of, I don't really know how to respond to that, but I really appreciate the email. Now, I promised Frank I was going to give a shout out to his son. Now, Frank's son goes to Kent State University. It's Nick from Kent State University. But the funny thing is that Frank said that Nick has a nickname. His AKA is Trick Daddy, which I thought was hilarious. So Trick Daddy, I'm giving you a shout out at Kent State University, and I'm also going to give you a couple of pieces of advice from an old man who's been to college. And the next couple of things, these are just a couple of things that in hindsight, I would like to tell you that you need to be thinking about or doing while you're in college. The first thing I would tell you, Trick Daddy, is to pick a major in a field that you're passionate about. I've learned, and many people that are listening right now that are especially older people, life is way too short to do something that you don't love. And so pick a major. Don't pick a major based on what your parents would, and no offense, Frank, but don't pick a major or a field or something based on what someone else wants you to do. Many people go and they just do what their parents tell them to do because that's the smart thing to do. I disagree. If you want to be an artist and that's your thing, major in art, but don't do something for someone else. It's your life. Next, I want to tell you this. Now, also, Frank, don't get mad at me for this. Trick Daddy, study hard, but play hard too, because it will be probably the most fun 4 years of your life. So study very hard, make straight A's, because when you come out, if you want to go to another school, they're going to look at your grades. It's very important. When you go to get a job, they're going to want to know what your GPA was and that you weren't just a jackleg. So have fun, but at the same time, study hard. The next thing I want to tell you Trick Daddy. I'm going to keep saying Trick Daddy because I think that's just a hilarious nickname you've got. Finish your undergrad degree. Do not leave that school without finishing. I can't tell you how many kids that were in college with me or at a different college at the time I was in college that for various reasons let their life get off track. Finish. You're there. Finish. And to anyone that wants to get an advanced degree, I highly recommend you get an advanced degree, specifically an advanced degree that really focuses you in on one field and makes you an expert in that field. Lawyers, doctors. In my life as an older person, the lawyers and the doctors, they've got it kind of on cruise control in terms of making a good living and living a good life. That's not going to hurt you. But that doesn't mean to do something like that just because there's money in it. Do what you have a passion for. Maybe if you like to argue, then maybe law school is the thing for you. Or if you're into body parts and heart and muscles and all that, maybe doctor route could be or it could be anything else. But what I want you to understand is whatever you choose, if you go to get an advanced degree, and this is something that a lot of older people listening to this will understand too. If you're going to go to school, do it now. Do it while you're young, because life will get in the way. And if you don't get that part of your life out of the way now, the percentage of people that actually go back to school once their life goes down, they get jobs and have a family and kids, it is very rare that anyone actually goes back to school. So whatever parts of school you're going to go to, you finish now. And the other thing I would tell any young person is get your career established before you get tied down with a family if you can. That's not always possible, but if you can, it will be better for you and better for your family to do so. And this is just a couple of things, a couple more things I want to tell you, Trick Daddy. Write things down, okay? Writing, that's one of the basic things my father taught me is keep a pad with you and a pencil. Write things down, whether it's an idea for something you might want to do down the road. Write things down and keep them, because if you don't write it down, our memories tend to slip sometimes. So write things down. Always. And even if you're just writing down a list of things you have to do, you'll accomplish more by writing things down. And we have all these gadgets nowadays, the phones and everything. I've tried them. I've tried using the notepads and all that business on iPhones and all, but I always go back to writing things down and putting them on paper. Last thing I want to tell you, Trick Daddy, and this is probably the most important of the things I've said, and that is you're going to fail a lot, okay? But those failures are going to be used in your eventual success. I don't care how many times that I've failed in my life, every single one of them, every road I went down that I did not end up finishing down, every failure on every road, whether it was a field that I got into that I was not interested in but I learned something. I always, to this day, there's something that I took from every single experience that I've had in life, whether it was a good one or a bad one. And so you will fail, but the getting up is the part that will make you a success. So you're going to get kicked. Failure happens. Now I'm going to finish you, Trick Daddy, with a quote. And the quote is this, from Thomas Edison. He says, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." And that's the way you need to approach life, just like Thomas Edison, because the Thomas Edison mentality, those guys, all they do is win. And nobody knows about their failures. All that they needed was the one win. I remember Michael Jordan had a quote a while back. I remember his quote was that he had shot some, thousands of baskets and he had missed some crazy amount of shots that he had taken. But but who remembers those? They remember the legend. I'm the digital asset investor, Trick Daddy. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button. And I really appreciate everybody listening. Tell your friends and family, because we're going places. Thank you for listening.